Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Northwest Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to welcome you to our 2021 annual breakfast. My name is Emily Winters, and I am the Chamber's Executive Director. It's certainly sad not to be gathered with you all at the Hilton Garden Inn while enjoying a lovely breakfast as we have in the past. But we're pleased to be here with you virtually. Plus, it's nice to not have to worry about driving in this weather. If you have any questions during the meeting, please submit them to the Q&A below. Also, please be sure to keep an eye on your email this week, as we'll be selecting attendees from this morning's call at random for giveaways sponsored by Black Eyed Susans. If you haven't gotten your coffee or breakfast, now is the time. You don't want to miss anything we'll be sharing with you today. I'm going to announce 3 brand new events, touch on how the Northwest Chamber can help your business, and hopefully bring some excitement to 2021. We'll be introducing our new board of directors while thanking those coming off. You'll enjoy a Baltimore County business forecast and hear updates from County Executive Johnny O. We'll be taking a look into what's to come in 2021 before listening to an inspirational talk, which will help you start the new year in the right mindset from our very own David S. Brown of DSB Leadership Group. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today. I'd like to take a moment to look back on 2020 and what we as a chamber were able to contribute to our members. We certainly missed seeing you all, and we hope you missed us too. We were known before the pandemic for our lunch and learns, networking drop-ins, quarterly networking happy hours with the Young at Heart Committee, as well as the Chamber Girls, and of course, having the best crab feast in town. In addition, our Taste of the Town event had always been a fan favorite, but all of these events were in person. So we had to be very creative in order to offer networking opportunities virtually while maintaining valuable programming for you. I am grateful for the community that is the Northwest Chamber of Commerce and all that we've overcome together during the last year. Also, we are very thankful for you for supporting our restaurant members as much as you could then and now. As you can see, we were able to enjoy a number of different events leading up to the shutdown in March. We're greatly looking forward to seeing you all in these places again. In a time when coming together for happy hours and networking events became impossible, we grew our connections through means of webinars, virtual interviews, and Facebook Live broadcastings. Our monthly networking groups transitioned to digital platforms and helped us to get to know each other even a little better than we did before. Speaking of those the Chamber relies on, it is my pleasure now to thank the 2020 Board of Directors. I'm incredibly lucky to have such a great group of individuals making up our dynamic leadership. I thank you for your service to our Chamber. And now, without further ado, you may recognize him from our Facebook Live Fridays, but I'd like to extend a big thanks to our President of the Board, Dennis Klein. Dennis, thank you for joining us today and all that you do for this chamber. I'm going to pass it over to you for all the updates regarding our board.
Good morning and thank you. My name is Dennis Klein with Consolidated Insurance, and I'm happy to be here kicking off 2021 with y'all. I'm proud to be on the Northwest Chamber Board, and I'm glad to be taking on another year in this leadership role. As president of the board, I'd like to thank my fellow members from 2020, especially those coming off this year. Thank you to Gwendolyn Joseph Lewis, past president of the board, Howard Long of Sir Speedy Printing, Owings Mills, past corporate partner, and Argay Ramiro of Truist, Reisterstown, formerly BB&T. Thank you for your insights, time, and generosity. We wish you the best to come in your future endeavors. Now I'd like to recognize the incoming board for 2021, starting with those making up our executive committee. Maisha Broach of Toyota Financial Services is the Chamber's new vice president this year. So congratulations, Maisha. Our treasurer, Jeff Quinn of CJ Miller LLC. Secretary, Kathleen Dorsey of Global Results, and our executive director, Miss Emily Winters. We'd like to welcome back Richard Titleman of Hancock Insurance. And introducing new board members, Dixie Lecoq of Mary Kay, and David S. Brown of DSB Leadership Group. And now we thank the following board members for continuing your service to our chamber. Jennifer Kramer de la Cruz of the De la Cruz team of Keller Williams Legacy. Alex Simone of Gold and Company. Binal Patel of Shore United Bank, Owings Mills. Christopher Koslowski of Shore United Bank, Owings Mills. Crystal Ty of Residence Inn by Marriott and Home to Suites by Hilton, Owings Mills. Moira Riley of CCBC, Owings Mills. And Janine Jarhar of BDO. And Brendan Schreiber of Schreiber Brothers Development. Last but not least, I'd like to recognize our board member corporate partners, Gina Frank of T. Rowe Price, Andy Morseberger of Minuteman Press, Sharon Hendricks of Northwest Hospital, and Zephin Blacksburg of ZMB Media. Thank you again, 2021 board. I'm so excited to have you as part of our leadership, and I know you will bring great perspectives, ideas, and energy to the Northwest Chamber of Commerce. Of course, a major contribution in making our chamber is the support from our corporate partners. I'd now like to recognize the teams at Northwest Hospital, Toyota Financial Services, T. Rowe Price, ZMB Media, and Minuteman Press. I look forward to working with all of you this year to bring another successful year to the members of your chamber. Lastly, our chamber takes great pride in having several committees, and I'd like to thank those who work hard to ensure each one is functioning at its full potential. These individuals dedicate their time and energy to help us put on great events and keep us available as an open line of communication with our members. If you take a look, you can see the hardworking groups within our organization, and I'd like to take a brief moment to highlight a new one for 2021. Our newest committee will be the Outreach Committee, chaired by our Vice President, Maisha Broach. She came to us last year with a great idea to dedicate a group solely focused on giving back to the community. We're excited to roll up our sleeves with the amazing organizations doing great work in the neighborhood. The chamber committees are a great way to get involved and meet other members. If you're interested in joining a committee this year, we'd be more than happy to have you. Thanks, Emily, and I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Dennis. Now I would like to transition into our Baltimore County business forecast. While we get the screen changed to the county's presentation, it's my great honor to introduce our Baltimore County Executive, Johnny O. I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say we're excited for this year and learning about what we can do as a community to come together and keep our businesses as a top priority. Mr. County Executive, thank you so much for joining us today. We're grateful to have you speak during our annual breakfast this year.
This is Kate with the County Executive. He will be on in just a second.
Thank you, Kate. We appreciate it.
And as we wait, I will now stall with a brief dance and joke. Just kidding. All right, we'll be right back with us. Sorry, timing is pretty on point. We're running a little fast. I talk pretty fast because I was so excited about this new 2021 board this year.
It's definitely easy to be excited about. I will take a moment to say that we offer a great program in our Masterminds program from our very own Kathleen Dorsey. I didn't have too much to say on it during the breakfast this morning, but if anyone is interested to join for a little business coaching, accountability, and to learn what the power of the table means, you should definitely check it out and make sure to sign up for one of the 2 classes held monthly. I would love to see you there. All right, we are all good to pass the screen off now. So you can go ahead and share your screen whenever you are ready.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, I understand we're running a little bit ahead of schedule. I had 8:45 on my calendar, so I actually thought I was early, but it's really good to see everyone today and appreciate the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for all your partnership, and it's exciting to be back, Dennis, after we had our Facebook Live event back in, I believe it was October, so really wonderful to be back with everyone. First, let me just say I want to applaud the Northwest Chamber and all of your efforts to be pivoting here virtually to support our communities in these challenging times. Thanks also, I understand that there was a community drive held for the Community Crisis Center in Reisterstown, so thank you for your efforts there. We're very lucky to have a business organization like yours that is willing to step up and support our neighbors in addition to our business community. So thanks for your investment there. And congratulations to all the board members. Particularly in these challenging times, it's great to have people who are willing to step up and serve. Also looking forward to the new 2021 initiatives. I know they're forthcoming, so we won't spoil them, but really looking forward to continuing to partner with the Northwest Chamber to strengthen our communities in the year ahead. It's hard to not talk about COVID-19 as we sort of provide updates and give remarks today. So in Baltimore County, I can say that we are continuing to do all that we can to stop the spread and support both our residents as well as our businesses. We are truly at a critical turning point in our fight against COVID-19, and we have the arrival of a vaccine, which has truly given us some light at the end of what has been otherwise a long, dark tunnel. I want you to know that as we receive our allocations every week, we are scheduling clinics the week ahead so that we are not having to cancel any appointments, but we are ensuring that every dose we get goes to a Baltimore County employee or resident. And to date, Baltimore County as a county has distributed more vaccines than any other local government or local jurisdiction across the state of Maryland. That's something we're very proud of. We lead the pack there. We are really proud of our efforts. We have an incredible infrastructure in place. We can do as many as 1,000 vaccinations an hour just at our Timonium Fairgrounds site. And we're also prepared to spin up sites across Baltimore County as that supply comes up. But obviously, demand has been very high for vaccines. Supply, unfortunately, has been relatively low. And we're looking forward to that pipeline opening up because it's been 10 months since our world was turned upside down. We've had over 40,000 of our neighbors in Baltimore County test positive for COVID-19. And unfortunately, we've lost over 900 people. That says nothing of the countless lives who have been changed for people who have lost their jobs or for business owners who have struggled to keep their business afloat here in Baltimore County. So in the wake of this crisis, we see immense need in our communities, in our businesses, in our healthcare systems, in our delivery. So we're doing all that we can to be thoughtful and deliberate, working with our business organizations like you, working with our hospitals, working with our residents to be thoughtful and responsible, to both save lives, but also balance that against the other imperatives, because we have an obligation to support our businesses but also ensure that people can meet their basic needs. So we're really proud of our efforts here in Baltimore County in very trying times. As part of that response, we've partnered with both the school system and other great companies and organizations like the Maryland Food Bank and H&S Bakery, as well as some local Baltimore County farmers. We have now distributed over 12 million meals to those in need. So there's incredible food insecurity out there. We've stood up the first eviction prevention program, I believe, in the state, and really has ramped up. We have distributed over $10 million in eviction prevention to help not over 900 families not face the consequence of eviction. Over 1.5 million went out early to over 500 households. And in phase 2, we're partnering with nonprofits like community assistant networks and Catholic charities to distribute these funds even more efficiently. We also know this pandemic has been a challenge on parents, especially those who couldn't telework or couldn't obtain affordable childcare, but had to worry about their kids who weren't in the school building. So we stood up a program to help low-income families pay for childcare for who had school-age children in remote learning. We also stood up that kind of program for school-age children for our employees here in Baltimore County, because it's one more way that we can help our residents who are struggling to get to the other side of this crisis. We're also providing millions of direct dollars in support to help our businesses, especially with restaurants. Millions more to keep customers safe. Since April, Baltimore County has approved 1,168 applications across 6 different grant programs for a total of over $19 million out the door to support our business community. Over $9 million alone of that was specifically for the restaurant and bar industry. And $2.5 million of that was to help them provide safe spaces for customers to eat, especially during the colder months, to do things like carry out windows, et cetera. Through our small business reimbursement grant program, we helped nearly 300 businesses install capital improvements. Over 50% of all of our grants have been provided to minority and women-owned firms, which has exceeded our goals for that program. And just to put things in context, our grant volume for all of these programs is at least 20 times greater than our usual volume. And we've done that without having to bring on new staff. So I really want to give my economic development team kudos and a shout out for their efforts to really process an incredible volume quickly. More specifically to all of you, I'm really proud of the way that we ramped up and have done grants to 20 business associations and chambers, in addition to tripling our commercial revitalization action grant fund. So we're providing up to $30,000 grants to business associations in our 18 revitalization districts for projects that benefit local businesses. I know the Northwest Chamber was one of the recipients of that program, and we're proud to support you and all the work that you're doing to help keep our business community afloat. So thanks for your partnership and for your ongoing efforts there, because chambers are lifelines to our small business community, and you really provide critical support and education, sharing vital information that we have. So thank you for the partnership, particularly in these trying times. As we think about recovery and with the vaccine and, as we're sort of finding hope on the horizon, it's time that we come together and think about rebuilding and addressing the disparities that we've seen that have already been there. So, to be clear, recovery isn't going to just be about tapping the state's rainy day fund. We have to find resources, but we also have to be smart and thoughtful and strategic and do this in partnership. Recovery will be harder in some sectors than others. In particular, we know that our hospitality and tourism industry and our event venues have really borne the brunt of the restrictions that have been in place and will probably face a years-long recovery. And if government has played a role in shuttering some of these spaces, oftentimes for logical health reasons, the government should also be stepping up to help with recovery. And so we know that tourists currently are looking for shorter getaways within 3 to 4 hours of their home. So that's all the more reason that we want to highlight our homegrown assets across the region here in Baltimore County, promoting a regional tourism strategy. And we also know that there's no question that the nature of work will be changing as we think about how we responded to this pandemic. And so we'll be looking to work with all of you to find ways to come back stronger with families supporting jobs in this new normal of work. And, we'll continue to expand on programs like the ones that help families, like the programs we have to support businesses. We'll do all that we can to make sure we continue to feed people, continue to provide job training, and to continue to create more economic opportunity. Our recovery will focus really on a robust agenda to invest both in our communities, but also support our businesses, particularly those on the brink of closure. We believe that the best way forward is to keep businesses who we have afloat, to keep them there, to keep them working, to help them eventually have a growth program as opposed to losing them and then trying to start from scratch. So from the outset, we've had work groups across many different areas, business, individuals and families, nonprofits. Those work groups will be continuing and are developing our recovery plan. And we're putting all the options on the table to support our business community. We're looking at leveraging loan guarantees. We're looking at our investments in our Main Street and business corridors. And we're looking at expanding our small business resource center here in Baltimore County. We're going to also make sure that we are thinking about what we're doing for our students and sort of that pipeline of workers. And for me, education is an important investment towards recovery as well. That's why we're pushing for the override of the veto of the Blueprint for Progress to make investments both in the classrooms as well as the infrastructure. So for example, Baltimore County still has about $250 million pre-funded for finishing the Schools for Our Future program, which includes the building of a new Summit Park Elementary School as one of our top priorities. As soon as the Built to Learn legislation is passed, Summit Park and $500 million of school construction between the county and state money will be on the ground. We'll put people to work. We'll give our kids those new facilities, even as we recognize there's long-term needs beyond that. Also good news for the Northwest section of Baltimore County, we requested a $3 million multi-year commitment from Governor Hogan to support the revitalization efforts of the Pikesville Armory. We did not get the $3 million, but there was a $500,000 line item in this year's budget for the Armory. And so we're committed to keeping that in there and seeing if there are ways to bolster that for support in the community. We're excited because it can provide much needed green space and recreational space, and look forward to continuing my partnership with the state. So, as we continue recovery, remembering that we're in this together, I look forward to working with all of you to make sure that we are successful in that. I believe Michelle Bernstein is on today. I'm not seeing the full roster, but she's my District 2 representative for the Office of Community Engagement. So if there's anything you need immediately, she's been great, and we're very lucky to have her. But really appreciate all the work that you guys do, and I'm happy to both hear from you about other things we should be thinking about as we enter this recovery stage, and also take any questions you may have. But as always, it's a pleasure, and thanks for having me this morning.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive. We are so grateful to have you today and speak so much on our community. I think I speak for everyone when I say we are very proud to live and work in a county that is so active and just so committed to helping us during these times. We were on the receiving end of one of the grants, and we're very grateful for that. So thank you. I do have 3 questions that have come in. Pull them up if you don't mind answering them for now. Number
Sure.
1, this kind of piggybacks what you were talking about earlier, but how do you think the Owings Mills business corridor may be affected by businesses possibly allowing employees to work from home after the vaccine has been administered?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to predict fully, but as I mentioned, there's no question there's going to be some transformation of the workspace, and industries will be adapting and changing. We'll probably see more teleworking and more Zoom calls even after we're able to be back in person. But I do think that many businesses just across the board do still understand the value of some in-person time. And so trying to figure out what that balance will be, and or just sort of generally the safety. We've had ongoing conversations with some of the folks who have like the larger business parks and buildings in Owings Mills and beyond. We're talking to our Economic Development Advisory Board, colleagues on the Greater Baltimore Committee, small business owners, and the message has actually been sort of mixed, right? Some businesses are saying we're going to keep our space but not require people to come in every day. Some people are going remote. some people are going to just try to get back, and others are saying we're going to have some mix, but maybe we're going to keep our space but expand so that we're not sort of on top of each other, so that we have sort of that more sense of distancing and safety and sort of the protocols within a building. So I think that there's a good chance, because of the additional teleworking and e-meeting space, that there are going to be some challenges, but I don't think it will be as extreme as, everyone staying sort of teleworking. I think there is some sense that people either want to return to some semblance of in-person and or having some mix or some adjustments to how those facilities and spaces are structured. So, but I'm curious to hear from all of you if you have thoughts on that as well, or things that we should be thinking about as a county.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Another question that just came in: are there any current grants or upcoming grants available through Baltimore County for our small businesses?
Yeah, so I believe that currently the most recent grant program that is about to come out is actually, we have a hotel grant program. So I know hotels have actually been, and motels have been also another industry that's been very hard hit. So that program should be released soon if you have members who are in that space, or if you have partners or colleagues that you work with. Currently, we are oversubscribed for our restaurant and bar program, so we had to stop that for now. Although, what I can assure all of you is that these conversations are iterative, they're ongoing, and there will be many programs that are launched in the future. We did a small art, we did a grant program for artists who couldn't perform early on. We had the small business grant program. We did the restaurants. We want to keep, really that's why these conversations are so important. And if you could follow up with Michelle, as an organization, if you can tell us which industries, what type of programs would be most helpful, who has been hardest hit, who needs help getting over, providing that bridge to success, that will help us launch our recovery program. I suspect that a lot of it will be tied to my upcoming budget, which will be announced formally in May, but we'll probably have some announcements leading up to that as we're having these conversations. And, I mentioned earlier these work groups. We were really cross-functional, working in sort of individual spaces, because it was sort of very, they were very sort of specific needs originally about individuals and families, businesses, nonprofits. We had a federal, a financial group, a data group. But what we're finding now is that we're almost sort of moving towards integrating even those subcategories, because they already were working so cross-functionally. And so having sort of a sub-cabinet almost on recovery, where we're putting all of these individuals in the same room and recognizing that, childcare access, for example, is good not just for an individual, but it's also good to help support businesses. Supporting businesses helps prevent eviction prevention. So how all these things are interrelated, I suspect there will be a very robust recovery plan, and it will be being rolled out for those programs in the months ahead. So, and if there's anything else I miss in terms of what's currently open, I'll be sure to let you know. But I think at this point, we're still processing all of the grant awards, and we're standing up the hotel one, in addition to finalizing the recovery plan.
Thank you. We will be in touch about that and try to spread the word as it comes in. I have one last question from one of our attendees. Johnny O, this is Gary McCammon, a proud supporters of yours from Parkville. BCPS ends first semester this week, and February 1st is second semester. What are your thoughts on transitioning the school system to a hybrid learning model versus completely virtual? Thanks for all that you do.
Thank you for your support and the kind words. And also, before I answer that, I'm just seeing the picture now. I hardly recognize that guy from a couple of years ago. It was before a pandemic hit. So what I can tell you is that we obviously, just to sort of remind folks, we don't have any direct control over the school system. The superintendent and the school board are the governing body. They're a function of state government, although the school system does get half of the Baltimore County budget. So I'm a big supporter of education. We provided record funding to them. We're also asking for levels of accountability accountability, I'll give this group a heads up. In about 2 weeks, we'll be asking the county council to approve an efficiency audit, not just of Baltimore County government, but of our school system, to make sure that our resources are being spent wisely and efficiently, and that we're really putting them towards our shared priorities. And I intentionally included the school system because they are half of our budget. Part of my legislative agenda this year, in addition to the additional school resources, is I also am asking, I created the county's first ever inspector general, but that Kelly Madigan's powers are only limited to county government currently. And I'm asking for the authority for that. If she has any tips on potential waste, fraud, or abuse, and she can also investigate the school system, because I believe in investing in education, but I also believe in accountability. And I think those things don't have to be mutually exclusive. As it relates to in-person learning, we have consistently done all that we can to help our schools get back as quickly and safely as possible. There is no substitute for in-person learning. Our teachers are doing incredible work virtually, but it's not the same. And we also can't provide sort of the social emotional supports. We can't provide the school meals in the same way. So there are a lot of reasons, particularly for our youngest learners, and particularly for those with special needs or from lower socioeconomic circumstances, where they benefit more by being in person. But that's why we've put 11, in addition to the school system budget, I took $11 million of CARES funding to do PPE and filtration systems in our schools to make it even safer. I wrote a letter with Superintendent Salmon to the governor to reprioritize and help our teachers become higher on the vaccination level. They're now finally getting vaccinated. We're actually having BCPS members shadow our folks at the fairgrounds to learn how we do it so effectively, so they can stand up their own individual vaccination pods. And really, thank you, Senator Hedelman. Want that veto as well? Yes. You know, hoping that between the vaccinations, the supplies, and candidly, like working with the school system, because, you know, if we can vaccinate, for example, the educators who are in those earliest grades, we can start with a return to school plan that starts with those youngest learners who benefit most by being in person, and ramp up to. That's what we're working towards. We're providing every resource we can. And I think the key is as quickly as we can, but also as safely as we can. With the recent announcement, we have not seen, neither the superintendent nor I have seen the updated guidance from the state that suggested returning March 1st is safe. I welcome it. I'll review it when I get it, as I always do. But on our side, in terms of what we control, we're doing all that we can to support our families and our teachers and our students to get back quickly and safely.
Thank you. I'm sure everyone is excited for that. And you're right, there's no substitution for all of that. The last question that we had is, what are you most excited about for this year? A lot to go on.
I'm looking forward to going to watch an Orioles game this summer. You know, I think that it's not unrealistic to think that we can get to that point. I'm not saying it may not be that Oriole Park is packed, you know, to the gills and that we're next to each other, but I think that we can get to a place between vaccinations and you know, the weather, the seasonality of this virus, that we can be in a place where there's enough separation and people can still, even if we have to wear masks, right? Like, that's fine. But just get me out there. Let me listen to music in the park. You know, I'm looking to some version of normal. And, you know, again, I started by saying, like, it's so close. And I think if we couple the pent up demand of the things that I can't wait to do, and I know that's probably true for so many people on this call, I think that we're really poised for a strong economic recovery, which is all the more reason why we want to be intentional about providing the supports to ensure that, you know, the Northwest Chamber, all of your members, all the folks that you know and work with are poised for that recovery to take advantage of that economic rebound that I really think is on the horizon. But it's also really critical that we get the vaccination right. You know, unfortunately, Maryland is towards the bottom of the pack in the country so far. And so getting that better, you know, my goal is to stay at the top of the state pack in terms of what we're doing in the county on distribution. But, you know, we're at the end of that supply chain. So all I can tell you is if I'm given the vaccinations, I will get them distributed, and we will do it effectively, efficiently, and fairly. If you have not registered, go to baltimorecountymd.gov/vaccine. And there's a portal where you can actually give us all your information. And as soon as you are both eligible and we have a vaccine, we will actually send you the registration link. I know folks have been frustrated because we all want it to be faster. I want it to be faster, but we are really doing it as quickly and efficiently as we can. So, but I'm looking forward to getting outside, having a cold beer in Oriole Park at Camden Yards, maybe seeing a sort of a small distance concert outside this summer. But I really think I think it's on the horizon. So, thanks for bearing with us a little bit more, but also thanks for being part of this recovery conversation because it's so important.
Well, thank you, Mr. County Executive. I definitely think that sounds like an ideal summer outing, so I'm sure you are not alone in that wish. We are so grateful for all that you do, you and your team, for being so proactive and keeping an open line of communication. So thank you for joining us today.
Always a pleasure. Take care, everybody. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Well, we are definitely looking forward to a promising 2021 after that. Speaking of 2021, we at the Northwest Chamber are thrilled to be bringing you a new year filled with new programming. We have been bursting at the seam to get the word out and get back to safely hosting events. The Northwest Chamber takes great pride in offering a scholarship program to local high school seniors applying for college. Unlike several scholarships, ours is eligible to be renewed up to 4 years. This year, we will be fundraising for the scholarship program on Wednesday, April 21st. Enjoy a fun and safe night out with your family and friends as we host a drive-in-like variety show. Tickets will be available through our website, and please stay tuned for more details as they are finalized. We are very excited to announce that the Northwest Chamber will be kicking off the start of our very own farmers market in partnership with the Hilton Garden Inn-Owings Mills. As of May 5th, we will be posted up in the Hilton's parking lot from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for a new neighborhood market. It'll be a great way to support local vendors, shop fresh, and network with nearby professionals. If anyone is interested in applying as a vendor, please contact me. We sincerely look forward to seeing you there. In furthering our initiatives to support our local member restaurants, we will be having our very first Northwest Restaurant Week. Member restaurants are invited to join us for a week-long celebration in May to drive traffic and encourage sales for these businesses. The Northwest Restaurant Week will kick off Saturday, May 2nd, and finish strong on Mother's Day, Sunday, May 9th. Please check our Facebook page and weekly newsletter to see all participating eateries and get all the details on this exciting new event. The Northwest Chamber is pleased to announce its first annual golf outing at Eagles Nest Country Club. The outing will take place on Monday, June 7th at the club. Join us for a shotgun start and a great day filled with food and fun. If you're interested in registering as a single golfer or as a team of 4, please contact the Chamber so we can get you set up. As a partner to our valued community, the Northwest Chamber will be assisting with the Glendon Sesquicentennial. Our neighboring friends in Glendon will be celebrating 150 years, and we are thrilled to be helping in their efforts. Over the weekend of September 10th, 11th, and 12th, the Glendon Community Association and Historic Glendon Incorporated will be putting on a series of events to highlight the history of the neighborhood and how far it has come. We'll have more events to share with you as the year progresses, but please keep an eye on our social media pages and in our weekly newsletter for updates. For the first time ever, the Northwest Chamber of Commerce will be offering mini grants of $1,000 to 10 of our members as a recovery effort from the pandemic. In a way to support and thank those who have utilized our services and sought help during a detrimental time, we are excited to extend our own financial assistance to keep these businesses going strong. We'll be releasing applications in the coming months with a plan to start the process this spring. It is our goal to listen to our members and monetarily help however we can. Please stay tuned as we unveil the release of this new offering. This past year, we have considered all the things making up our member benefits. It's been a great time to both reflect and brainstorm what more we can offer. Aside from business assistance, community engagement, and member spotlights, we've taken it up a notch to ensure that your money is well spent when joining the Northwest Chamber. As you can see, we offer several free programs within your membership, as well as extending some to non-members. Our hope is that these services provide the assistance and opportunities that make the difference for your business. From our free mastermind programs to our always growing calendar of events, we ask that you try immersing yourself in a new chamber program this year. We're always willing to meet and help however we can. And as promised, we will always work hard for your success. As of 2020, we're happy to offer new digital means of communication within the Northwest Chamber. Our portfolio now includes Facebook Live Fridays with Board President Dennis Klein and our weekly member interviews hosted by myself. We have found great joy and positive feedback when highlighting our businesses, sharing updates on a real-time platform, and inviting members to be subjected to interviews so that we can all get to know each other a little better. Our weekly newsletter is always thoughtful and put together with such care by our very own Kathleen Dorsey. Kathleen works to fill the message with important county information, introductions of new members, and upcoming events. We're always looking for news to share, so if you have any, please send it our way. We strive to stay in touch while promoting your business however we can. And now, I'm so happy to introduce David S. Brown as today's presenter. David, thank you so much for joining us today. I will now ask that you share your screen for us while we transition. And for those of you who are seeing David for the first time today, he specializes in business coaching and public speaking. I've had the pleasure of working with and getting to know David over the last year, and I'm excited for his words today. I trust that he will get us all motivated to make 2021 a special year indeed. Thank you, David.
Well, thank you for the invitation, and I'm excited to be with all of you today. It is an honor to be a part of this board, and I'm excited to be able to share a couple thoughts with you today. And the title that has been given to me by our leader here is Your 2021 Story. So many of my clients and people I've worked with over the last couple of months have shared that it has been a challenging 2020. And you get a conversation here or there where you feel like somebody is thrilled that 2020 happened to them in their business, that it actually helped prepare them for 2021. Some of them have had incredible years. Incredible opportunities have been given to them, despite the health pandemic, despite the challenges with social unrest. The perspective that I believe we've got to have is 2021 going to be challenging? Yes, I believe it can be. But will it be an incredible year that we can look back on and be excited about, that we went through it, that we have partnerships, that we strengthen our relationships? That's what we got to look at 2021. So the question is, what's going to be your 2021 story? 30 years ago, a young man was swimming in the Pacific Ocean with his fellow enlistees from various branches of the military. You had your Marine enlisters, you had your Naval, you had your Army, and they were swimming in the ocean, playing football on the beach, swimming in the ocean, playing football on the beach. Well, this young man got carried away while he was floating in the ocean. So much for that he was disturbed when something rubbed against his body. And looking up, he realized that he was a far distance from the shore. And at that moment, his body froze. He started feeling cramps coming on his body, and he felt like he was going to drown. He thought to himself that if he panicked right then and there, he wouldn't make it back, and surely he would die. Would he be the story on the news that evening? Would he be the story that his family and friends would share in sadness and thinking about what potential this young man had? A story was being written that day, whether he wanted it to be or not. He could write the story in his mind that he was going to drown, a story in his mind that he wasn't going to make it back to shore, or he could rewrite that story. He chose to write a different story. Instead of panicking and allowing his body that was cramped to fall under by the waves, he decided to allow himself to relax. This young man didn't swim or try to swim directly to the shore, but he went with the flow of the waters and gently got back into the shore downstream. By the time he got onto the beach, his friends were laughing and clowning him and making fun of him. But his story, he kept in his heart because he knew, had he given up on himself, had he given up on the hope to survive, his story would have been someone else's story. That news, that family gathering around those friends. So what will be your 2020 story? Well, we've got to learn to let go. We got to learn to let go. If you remember that I gave a presentation not too long ago to our chamber, and we talked about Will Smith, and he said that our life, our opportunities is on the other side of fear. And we got to let go. We got to be willing to take that risk. We got to be willing to jump out. We can't play it safe. 2020 has conditioned so many of our minds to want to play it safe, to be conservative. And yet we've got to be willing to take that risk and let go. Some of us need to remember that letting go means you actually have to trust that the adventure that's going to come is greater than the lack of thrill, excitement, and venture of staying. It's when I decided to let go when I was 3 years old that I began to ride a bike. It was when I decided to let go that I was able to jump into the swimming pool into my father's arms. It was when I decided to let go as a young business owner that I became resourceful. It was decided that when I let go, I would become resilient and stronger than I initially thought I could be. It was when I decided to let go that I could define what success should be for me and my organization. Will you let go this year? Because if you don't let go, your 2021 story will be a continuation of what you came into January of this year. Yes, Dave, I know it's not easy. It's not easy when you think about the challenges that we're going to be facing. Some of you thought to yourself, well, I'm not young anymore. I'm not naive. I know better. It's not that simple, but you're worth it. Your business is worth it. Your community is worth it. So yes, it may not be simple in that sense, but think of it from this perspective. You're not as young as you used to be, so you're not careless. It's because you're not naive that you know better. And it's because you've been through experiences, you're going to do better. Don't live with regret. Live with hope and possibilities. If we're going to write our 2021 story, there are going to be a few things we're going to need to do. And here are the three things I believe are essential for us to write the 2021 story that we all want to hear at the end of the day. The 2021 story that we want to read about ourselves, about our business, and about our community. The first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to learn to meditate to radiate. Secondly, we're going to have to learn to replace and rewire if we're going to rewrite. And the third thing we're going to have to do, fellow members of this chamber, is we're going to have to slow down if we're going to speed up. Meditate to radiate. For some of us, meditation and practicing mindfulness can be very challenging. It can seem like a foreign concept. That's more of an Eastern philosophy. But I do challenge us to consider what benefits can come if we take this concept of meditation and make it a part of our daily practice. I'm not saying that all of us need to meditate, but there are some benefits that I believe I can make a case for. When we're able to practice meditation, we are able to quiet our mind. I might struggle with ADHD. I might struggle with a million thoughts that come to my mind. But when I allow myself to meditate, I'm able to fine tune that talk that goes in our mind every day, the things we do to convince ourselves to go for something or to not go for something. Meditation quiets the mind. It allows you to focus and listen to true core desires rather than listening to doubts. Give you an illustration for some of us who grew up watching these cartoons when we were young, and you see these two personas. You've got the little angel on one shoulder, you've got the little devil on the other shoulder, and what happens? They're both speaking and competing for the mind of their hosts or the person they're trying to influence. The devil says everything that's going to make them feel safe, everything that's going to get them a position of advantage, and the angel saying, be nice, be considerate. Well, I'm going to challenge you to consider which persona you're going to listen to in your meditation. Are you going to keep playing the tape over and over again about safety, over and over again about preservation, over and over again about what you can do that's going to cause failure or disappointment or heartache? Or will you play the tape of anticipation? Play the tape that things can happen. Play the tape of excitement of what can be. Meditation helps to drown out all the negativity and to focus on the right persona. For some of us, it might be challenging, but I believe there's power in meditation. If you want to look at it from this perspective, think of it this way. What about the power of visualization? Thinking about every little aspect of your work, every little aspect of your craft, whether you're playing a sport, whether you're a musician, you really consider every aspect of what you're going to do. You're visualizing the process. You're visualizing success. Meditation is visualization, and that's what's going to happen. You've got to meditate if you're going to radiate. This is why it's important. If you remember the first time I came to a chamber event, I was a brand new member. Typically, whenever I go to an event, I will bring my laptop, I'll bring information. I'm always prepared to go. However, for my first chamber meeting, I brought nothing. I showed up there at the Toyota Financial office there, and I was approached by Maisha, and she said, by the way, I heard that you're a speaker. Yes, I am. Guess what, Dave? Our speaker today isn't able to make it. You're up. I could have frozen, but I decided right there to calm my heart and say, Dave, there's a need. You've done this before. You could do it again. So I made a decision. I calmed my mind, calmed those voices, and I focused on the need of the hour. And I talked about telling yourself the truth. I spoke about affirmations we tell ourselves. And when you're able to meditate, you're able to focus on the right things. Meditate to radiate. Tell yourself the truth every single day. Hold on to your core values. They should not change just because we've gone through this health pandemic. The second thing we've got to do to rewrite our story is we've got to look at replacing and rewiring our minds. Replacing and rewiring our minds. Look at this for a moment. Our brains, believe it or not, are hardwired to survive. It's hardwired to survive. So everything in us is designed instinctively to want to preserve ourselves, protect ourselves. So there is an element of not wanting to take risk. It's there. There's an element of not wanting to step out by faith. It's there because we want to protect ourselves. When I was a young child in my early preteen years, I remember being in this exercise with a group of other preteens, and the instructor said, we're going to learn to trust beyond the sight. We're going to learn to trust. So he said, Dave, do you trust me? Naive, of course I trust you. Do you trust me to catch you? Of course I trust you to catch me. Fold your arms, close your eyes, and fall back. The first time that happened, I put my foot back and I leaned back on my own leg to catch myself, to brace myself. He said, Dave, I thought you trusted me. I do trust you. I just can't see it. He said, if you trust me, let go. If you trust me, fall back. I will catch you. And there's something about not having your sight to judge the distance between where you are and the floor. And I'll tell you, when I fell back and I actually trusted this man to catch me, it felt like I was falling for an eternity. But he caught me. My brain was wired to survive, to prevent pain, to prevent damage to my body. But when I told myself a different story, he will catch me. He won't let me fall. He won't let me get hurt. I was caught. And I learned to trust because I learned a valuable lesson that day. Our brains are hardwired to survive. But what's amazing about the brain is this. The brain will execute direction given by the storyteller, by the story maker. If you tell your brain a different story, the brain will execute that direction and you will actually rewire your brain. And here's what's going to happen. You've got to starve the current story you're telling yourself. And you've got to feed the story you want. Starve the story you tell yourself and feed the story you want. There's an episode that just came out this morning on my podcast. I interviewed a good friend of mine who's also a coach. He's a business coach. He wrote a book called We Wired. In this book, he speaks about the idea of starving a narrative that you can believe in or you believed in for a long time and feeding a new narrative. In this, he talks about taking a client of his on a hike. Part of his practice and his approach to helping his clients is putting them in seemingly dangerous adventures. Now, dangerous to his clients per se, but not to himself. He's done it a million times. He's been a pilot. He's done climbing. He's done motorcycle racing. And so he'll take his clients to these events in these situations and really through that situation, force them to rewrite a new narrative. I don't think I could climb this mountain. Let's rewrite that narrative. I don't think I could get on a motorcycle bike with you and go 150 miles an hour. Let's rewrite that narrative. I don't think I could jump out of this helicopter or this plane. Let's rewrite that narrative. And he forces them to learn how to see themselves differently. And what's amazing is every client, time after time, will come back and tell him, I didn't think I could do that. I believe in that now. To which he responds with, apply that to every area of your life. No more limitations on your family. No more limitations with your business because there's no more limitations on yourself. He called these people to write a new narrative. So will you push yourself this year to write a new narrative? What will you do to remove your limiting beliefs so that 2021 could be the year that you in your heart really want to have? What can you do? I want you to get a new focus. One of the things he talks about, and my twin brother shared with me when he was in the military, is part of going on these long hikes. Why do they do these chants? By the way, I don't know why they go on these long marches with these boots. Now, I understand boots are protecting your feet, but I want some tennis shoes. I want some running shoes. I want to know if I'm going to go on a 20-mile hike, I'm not going to come back with blisters on my feet, lugging around these big giant boots. But part of what enables these incredible soldiers to complete these marches, these incredible athletes to complete these marathons, is they do something called a cadence, where they actually, in a way, chant a song together while they're marching. And what it does is shifts the focus away from, quote unquote, the pain, the discomfort, the agony of having to march to we're a brotherhood. We're in this together, and we're focusing on a song or a chant that gets my attention away from the pain that's there physically to the joy that will be there at the very end. When I was younger, I trained in martial arts. And there were a couple strategies that my teachers would use to help us to shift our focus. One of those, which I do not recommend here in the United States, because this was not in the US, which might put you in a position where you might go to jail. I don't know. But what happened was I would sit there and we would have our ice cubes placed in our hands. And we were instructed to learn to focus on something that was going on in the distance. It would get to the point where your focus was so great that you did not even realize you had ice in your hands. It's called getting in the zone if you're an athlete, getting in the zone if you're a musician. When you refocus on something that can be, it rewires your brain and takes the story off of what can't be. Get a new focus. I want to talk about slowing down to speed up. Slowing down to speed up. Now, we all know who this guy is. If you don't know who this guy is, you're probably not into sports. You don't watch the Olympics. And yes, it's unfortunate that the Olympics this year or last year and this year have been canceled in Tokyo. I love the Summer Olympics. I hope you do as well. But this guy right here is regarded as the fastest man on the planet. You got to slow down to speed up. But here's the thing, you got to slow down to speed up. But the way you got to look at it is don't react. You got to respond. When we react, that's when we do the old adage of putting your foot in your mouth. You can't take back what's been released. You can't say, I didn't mean to do that. Say that. You've got to slow down and respond to situations, not react. Respond accordingly. Don't react emotionally. Slow down to speed up. And why did I bring Usain Bolt in this? Why did I bring him in this situation? Because there have been research and literally studies done on what made this guy incredible. Was he just abnormal in his physical structure and makeup? Possible. He was a little taller than the average sprinter by a few inches there. I believe it's 3 to 5 inches. He was taller than the average sprinter. But when they did the study and they broke down the film, what they realized about Usain Bolt was that while his competitors tended to slow down towards the end of the race, he kept speeding up. Why did this happen? Did everybody exert themselves, come out the block faster than he did? Well, if you watch his tape, he wasn't always the fastest out of the blocks. But what happened was that he was trained through coaching, trained with the available technology that was there to actually look at every aspect of his race. They dissected frame by frame how he moved every portion of his body, how he came out of the breaks, how he was in his full stride, and how he finished the race. And when they slowed it down, they were able to make tweaks here and there, changes here and there, to the point where he was able to run in such an efficient manner that none of his competitors could ever keep up with him. He had a mindset. I'll be the machine. I'll be the focus to win the race. You'll see this all the time now with a lot of athletes. You'll see them actually take slow motion steps. They'll play it out in their minds. Why? Because if they don't get the mechanics right, the muscle memory correct, it could mean a 1/10 of a second, and a 1/10 of a second could mean a second place finish. His team slowed down so that he can speed up. What's amazing about Usain Bolt, he decided to focus on one aspect at a time. Out the block 100 times, out the block another 100 times, out the block another 100 times, to the point where it became so mechanical, the muscle memory so refined that he didn't have to put any thought into it. And that thought was energy. And that energy could be lost in that moment. One thing at a time. I spent a lot of years working with recovery programs through various outreach communities, ministries, churches, and organizations. And we've heard of one day at a time, or ODAT, one opportunity at a time. Why? Because when we think about what our goal is, sometimes we can't cross that finish line until we take that first step. You can't reach that goal in 2021 until you start with the first step, the one decision, one thing at a time. What's amazing about Usain Bolt is that he was the definition of success, not just the definition of speed. How do we know it was successful? Well, 11 world championship gold medals, 2 world championship silver medals, 1 bronze world championship medal. How do we know he was successful? Because on the greatest stage, the Olympic Games, he won 8 gold medals. Gold was the standard because he slowed down to make it great. If we're going to write the right story in 2021, I want to encourage you today, slow down to speed up. How can we slow down, Dave? Here's a couple thoughts. Slow down by working on what's producing right now. Dave, I got all these projects, all these things I want to work on. No, stop all those things. Focus on what's producing right now. When the pandemic hit, I could no longer go to organizations and provide trainings. I was forced to slow down. So I started creating a course, and I've been using that course for corporate trainings. Slow down to speed up. Well, Dave, you don't understand. I'm in a certain business where I've got to do X. Well, can you do Y? Slow down to speed up. Focus on what's producing. Focus on what's working. That's what you do right now. That might be the widget that saves every organization around you. I had a coach that I worked with this last week. Now, yes, coaches use coaches. And this coach had been working with me and asking me about how to build his business. And through the pandemic, much like myself, we lost a lot of corporate trainings. We lost a lot of speaking opportunities. All these things were no longer there. So he was, Dave, can I imitate you? I want to start a podcast like you. I want to write courses like you. I want to do this, what you're doing. I want to do this. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you going down all these different rabbit holes? Why are you doing all these different things? I said, slow down. One focus, one thing. Today's Tuesday. He sent me a message on Friday afternoon. He said, Dave, in this last week, I brought on 6 new clients. That's the most I've had in the last 6 months because of the health pandemic. What happened? He focused on one single thing. And now he's got all these clients coming in through his door. Now I should start getting a commission for that, I think. That's what I should start doing with my clients that are coaches. Charge them a commission. But that's what we got to do, decide on one thing. When you're thinking about 2021, think about Usain Bolt. I can't tell you this. The last 3 Olympics, especially the last 2, when we were watching these sprinters, not many thought he wasn't going to win. Some of us here watching or watched those Olympic Games instantly said, oh, he's the winner. Who's racing for second? I want you to think like Usain Bolt. The race hasn't even happened, but he expected to win. Your race may not have happened, but you need to expect to win. I'm going to share a story here with you. A young boy asked his father, Dad, how much is my life worth? The father looked at this young man and said, son, I've got this stone. I want you to do me a favor. Go to the market tomorrow. And if anybody asks you how much that stone is worth, just lift up 2 fingers. And then come back and tell me what you found. The young boy went to the market the next day. A woman saw him walking around with this stone. She went up to him and said, hey, how much is that stone of yours? The boy, listening to his father's direction, said nothing, but he raised up 2 fingers. The woman said, oh my gosh, I would love that stone. I'll give you $2 for it. The boy ran home, told his father, Dad, this woman at the market saw me. I said nothing. I just raised 2 fingers and she said she would give me $2 for it. Great job, my son. Tomorrow, do me a favor. Go down to the local museum. carry that stone in there. And if anybody asked you how much that's worth or if they could buy it, just raise up 2 fingers. The next day, the boy went down to the museum. Inside, the curator was there. He saw the young boy and he said, "Hey, how much is that stone? I'd like to buy it." Young boy remembered his father's direction, raised up 2 fingers. He raised up 2 fingers, and the guy said, "I'll give you $2,000 for it. That's definitely something I'm worth buying." The boy followed his dad's direction, went back home again. Ran home and said, "Dad, you won't believe it. This guy offered me $2,000. That's definitely more than $2. Shouldn't we do it?" His dad said, "Wait, son, do me one more favor. Tomorrow, go down to the center of the city and look for that prize rare gem store. Walk in there and ask and just stand there and see if the owner of the gem store comes and speaks with you. If he does, just raise up 2 fingers." The next morning, he listens to his father again, runs down to the gem store, the precious metal store, walks in, looks around, the owner sees him and says, "My whole life, I've been waiting for a stone like that. I've been searching for it. Will you sell it to me? How much is that stone?" Little boy, remembering his father's direction, just raised up 2 fingers. He said, $200,000. I'll write your check right now. The boy ran back home, told his father the whole situation, the whole story. He said, "Dad, surely we could get rid of the stone for $200,000. This man was willing to pay for it. It's better than the $2,000, and it's better than the 2." The father said, "It's all about perspective. What you believe you're worth, what you believe this stone is worth, is what someone else eventually will need to be convinced of. And if they see it your way, they'll pay you the $200,000. What's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is how you see your story, how you see yourself and your organizations. You'll never convince anybody else of that value unless you see it as greater than the $200,000. Raise up your 2 fingers and see what you're worth. So what's going to be your 2021 story? How are you going to look back at the end of this year as to what happened in your life? Will your 2021 story be like your 2020 story? Will it be a challenge? Will it be doom and gloom and there's maybe a spark of hope? Or will it be a fantastic ride, an adventure worth listening to, worth waiting to hear for, worth waiting to share with the world? What will your 2021 story be? Will you meditate to radiate? Take the time to calm your mind, to recenter yourself, to think about what needs to happen, to give yourself those positive affirmations, or to write into your gratitude journal every day? Will you replace and rewire your brain so you can rewrite the right story, the right narrative? And will you slow down and speed up? Focus on the things that actually are going to produce for you, bring you opportunities that you want. Because when you slow down, you can speed up for greater opportunities. When I told you the story of that young swimmer out there with all the enlistees who cramped up, that story was about me. I was that teenager enlisted into the military, swimming in the ocean, thinking I was going to drown. When that jellyfish hit my arm, my body cramped up. But I wrote a different narrative that day. I wrote a different story. And because of that, I'm here with such incredible leaders. Look forward to hearing your story at the end of 2021. Let's write great stories. Thank you.
Thank you, David. As always, such an amazing talk. We are always so appreciative of your words of wisdom in helping us gain a new perspective.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to hearing more from David this year, both on his podcast and in upcoming chamber meetings. So thanks again, David. We appreciate you. Well, in closing, I would like to say that we here at the Northwest Chamber are full of energy and ready to take on this year. I hope you leave this morning feeling motivated and excited for all that's to come. I would like to extend a big thanks again to all of our members, board of directors, elected officials, and community supporters. As always, please follow us on Facebook and YouTube for all things Northwest Chamber. We greatly appreciate all of you and thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, please contact us at the email listed below. Hopefully we'll see you all soon. We look forward to working with you and continuing on our mission of enhancing the well-being of this great community. Thank you. Have a great rest of your week and we will see you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Bye. Take care.